You know, when you hear a message and you immediately think, okay, is that for me or is that for someone else? It's such a human question. Well, today we're jumping into a story from the Gospel of Luke that kicks off with that exact problem. And the way Jesus answers it, it's a total masterclass in turning a simple question into a really profound personal challenge. All right, let's get into it. So you got to picture the scene. Jesus is surrounded by this massive crowd. The text says it's so big, people are literally trampling each other to get close. But his focus is on his inner circle, his disciples. And one of them, Peter, has something very specific he needs to know. And there it is. Peter just wants to know the deal. Is this a private briefing just for the team, for us? Or is this a general announcement for everybody? He's drawing a line in the sand between the insiders and the outsiders, and he wants to know which side this teaching is for. It's so relatable, right? We all want to know what's expected of us, specifically. Now, what's so fascinating is what Jesus does next. He doesn't give a straight answer. No simple yes or no. He doesn't say, Peter, it's just for you guys, or nope, it's for everyone. Instead, he answers Peter's question by telling another story, a parable that completely flips the whole conversation on its head. The setup is pretty straightforward. A master is heading out of town, and he puts one of his servants, a steward, in charge of everything. And we're not just talking about watering the plants here. This guy is responsible for managing the master's entire property and, crucially, for taking care of all the other servants. It's a huge position of trust and authority. And this is where it all hinges on a choice. Jesus lays out two completely different paths for this steward. The faithful one, he just gets to work. He does his job day in and day out, making sure everyone is fed and everything is running smoothly. But the unfaithful steward, he sees the boss's absence as his big chance. He starts abusing his power, mistreating others, and just partying like there's no tomorrow, thinking, the master's not coming back anytime soon.
But here's the thing. The master's absence isn't gonna last forever. A day of reckoning is absolutely coming. And the parable makes it crystal clear that this moment of truth is gonna show up when nobody sees it coming. There's no time to prep for a last-minute performance review. This detail is so important. The sudden return of the master isn't just dramatic. It reveals the steward's true character. There's no time to clean up the mess, sober up, or even pretend you've been doing a good job. The unannounced arrival just strips away all the masks. And the consequences for that unfaithful steward, wow, they are incredibly severe. This isn't just getting fired or getting a slap on the wrist. The language is shocking, it's final. It shows that neglecting your responsibility, failing at stewardship, is seen as this profound act of betrayal. Okay, so let's bring it back to Peter's original question. Is this for us or them? Jesus never actually answers him directly. Instead, he holds up this story like a mirror. It's a genius move. He totally shifts the focus from who is this message for to which one of these people are you? He leaves it to Peter and to every single one of us to look in that mirror and decide who we see looking back. Now, after telling this story, Jesus then pulls out this universal principle about accountability. This is really the core logic behind the whole parable, and it gets right to the heart of what it means to be trusted with, well, anything. So here's the bottom line. With great privilege comes great responsibility. It's that simple. The more you've been given, whether that's knowledge or resources or influence, the higher the expectation is for how you handle it. It's a principle of proportional accountability. And this part is just brilliant because it adds this layer of nuance. Jesus makes a clear distinction here. He says that knowing the right thing to do and then choosing not to do it is way more serious than messing up because you didn't know any better. Awareness raises the stakes. For people who know the master's will, like Peter and the other disciples, the responsibility is that much greater. At its core, this entire parable is about this one big idea, stewardship. And what is that really? It's simply recognizing that the things we have in our lives aren't actually ours to own. They're on loan. Our time, our talents, our money, all of it is entrusted to us to be managed with care and with gratitude. Not like we're the owners, but like we're the caretakers. So, the big question is, how does this ancient story actually connect with our lives today? Let's do a quick inventory of the kinds of household resources that you and I have been given to manage right now. When you really stop and think about it, the list gets pretty long, doesn't it? We're all stewards of our time, of our unique skills and talents, and of our financial resources. But it's also about the knowledge we have, the influence we have in our relationships, and for believers,
It's about the responsibility of carrying the gospel message itself. These are the assets we're managing every single day.
And, being a faithful steward doesn't mean we have to live in a constant state of anxiety. The parable actually teaches the opposite. True readiness is all about quiet consistency. It's about having integrity in the small, everyday choices. It's the total opposite of the unfaithful steward who only cared about how things looked right before the master was scheduled to show up. Real faithfulness is just a way of life, not some last-minute scramble.
And that really brings us right to the point. Jesus' brilliant move was to never answer Peter's question, but to turn it back on him. This story isn't meant to be a label that tells you who you are. It's a question that asks you who you're choosing to be. It forces us to look at how we're managing everything that's been put in our care and ask ourselves, which steward am I being right here, right now?